For of a truth, against thy holy child Jesus, whom thou hast anointed, both Herod and Pontius Pilate, with the Gentiles and the people of Israel, were gathered together, for to do whatsoever thy hand and thy counsel determined before to be done. Acts 4:27 and 28. Now, this particular passage was the verse that sort of undid my prejudices against the Reformed position of God's sovereign control over all things, but particularly his sovereign control over evil. So in this situation, we're talking about the conspiracy against Christ, and it was the conspiracy against Christ that was undertaken by Pilate, the Gentiles, and the people of Israel, the Jews, and they were all gathered together. And they were gathered together in order to do everything that they did, all that they were involved with. These people did whatsoever God's hand, thy hand, and thy counsel determined before to be done. So my argument before this had been that God cannot pick up and use a dirty stick without getting his hands dirty. If God predestined, if God foreordained an evil action, then God was somehow tainted in that evil action. And with this verse settled and harmonizes with other passages, is that God knows how to foreordain an action that is evil, and he knows how to foreordain it and bring it to pass, and in such a way that he remains holy, righteous, and good. So what I knew from this, when the penny finally dropped, is that God knows how. Now, this didn't tell me that God predestines every action. It didn't tell me that God foreordains every action, but it told me that God knows how. God knows how to do it in a way that preserves the free agency of the people involved, their moral responsibility. Jesus, when Jesus is in front of Pilate, he says that the sin of the Jews, the leaders of the Jews over here, their sin was the worse than Pilate's. Pilate was sinning, but the leaders of the Jews were sinning worse. In chapter 2 of Acts, it says that when Peter's preaching, he is saying that you all have taken with wicked hands, crucified the Lord Jesus. So there's sin involved in this. And yet, what did they do? They did what God's will and purpose before to be done. So God controls all things. God controls all things, including sinful actions. And if someone says, but he doesn't know how to do that, we would say, well, yes, he does.